member, however hard it may be, how was it being the 10th employee of HDFC?
It was certainly not easy, and it was an idea not tested in India. No one had dared to lend money to individuals, and that too for home ownership. And so it was a new idea. It was akin to a startup, when there was no startup culture at all those days, in an era of socialism. And it was a difficult decision for me to change my cushy foreign bank job and join a startup.
Why did you do it? Was it because of your love for your uncle, or did you do it?
No, it was not because of that. There was no coercion, there was no pressure. It was just that I was transferred from Bombay to Saudi Arabia in Chase Manhattan. And I had two minds whether to go to Saudi Arabia and work with Saudi Chase Bank there. And I was at crossroads. I was not sure whether I want to take my family there. And so it was a hardship job. You get 2 months off for every 10 months you work. And because those days were the first oil crisis when Americans were not willing to go to Saudi or not even welcome to go to Saudi. And so I decided that I'd come back from overseas. I don't want to run around and just settle down here. So I took that. It was a bold step, but no regrets.
So I'm going to ask you on 6 different dimensions that startups normally have an issue. The first is building the team. The idea you had, which was to give house loans, right? I mean, to mortgage loans. How did you build the team? And why did the team stay with you?
Well, it's a slow process. First of all, you should understand that we had no one to copy from. We had no one to emulate. No one had done housing finance. We had to even draft the loan application form and what to put in a loan application form. So it was really a startup. The difference is, it was a startup, unlike the today's startup, it was started by a person post-retirement at the age of 65. And so what I want to say is that age is no bar for entrepreneurship. Age is no bar for starting a new company or having an idea.
So I'm going to hold him to this. Don't clap right now. I'm going to ask him a question at the end, which he should be ready to answer. But the question...
All you need is an idea. You need an idea, and you must have conviction, ability to execute with lots and lots of patience and perseverance.
No, but the question that I had is that all the people who stayed with you for the longest time made no money. Unlike the startups of today, after 5, 7, 10 years when the multiples are strong, you all were working on so you kept a team without paying them very much for the longest time.
Salaries were very low, and however, we were lucky to get the good team, and we worked well together. And it was a new idea, it was a challenging idea, it was excitement all around. And in fact, we were so thrilled that a first borrower came for a loan. In the first annual report, we put his picture and his house, his small house in Thana on the front page.
What was the size of the loan?
30,000 rupees to one Mr. Remedios.
Which was your biggest investment in the start for HDFC? Did you buy an office? What did you... There were no IT systems then?
No, there were no. We had ledgers. We still have those ledgers. We have started a legacy center in our old Raman House building, and I invite all of you to see it. In fact, we put the first ledger. It's a big ledger where we used to write EMIs coming and monthly EMIs, and it was all manual accounting. And no, it was, what we call learning by doing. As I said, there was nothing to follow. Learning by doing. And it was so ironical that a few other companies that started housing finance even 10 years later They used the same application form, different color, and we had one or two typo errors. They had the same errors in their application.
When did you feel that HDFC had survived?
I think first 10 years.
86?
Yeah. First 10 years. In between, I remember we had a period where we had so many applications and no funding, no resources. I remember calling our advertising agents and preparing ads to put in the paper. Thank you for your overwhelming response. We've got a massive backlog of cases, so we are not going to accept new cases till we clear the backlog. and please bear with us. It was not that. It was no money to disperse. So we've gone through the ups and downs as all startups do. You have pains and joys. It's part of the growing up. It's part of a startup culture. It's part of life, actually, a part of any corporate sector.
So tell me, how is it and why is it that every foreign fund wanted to invest in HDFC?
Because we produced good results and the growth was there.
No, but India was not interesting at that time. No one wanted to come here. What made them come and invest in you?
I think they had trust in the senior management, and we used to be in contact. We used to go once or twice a year all around to meet investors, which is not happening today in the corporate sector. If you want foreign investors, if you want institutional investors, foreign sovereign funds, you must meet them 3-4 times before they get comfort in the management. And you have to do that after your 6-monthly results, after your annual results. You have to go all over the world. And it is quite cumbersome. One day here, one day here. It is not easy to do. And we followed it up because we had no promoters. 100% stock was in the market. And we had to find buyers of the stock. And the reason people did not leave us is from the early days, we gave stock options to each and every employee of ours. Even in the last stock option we gave some 5-7 years ago, it was to each and every employee. Now, we could do that because we had 3,500 people. But bank, there are 3 lakh numbers. So you can't do it in a large organization. We could get away because we were a small outfit.
Now, the other question that has always intrigued me is that you were barely, not even 20 years old, when you started to imagine an entire financial empire. Meaning, you wanted to start a bank, then you started insurance company.
Not 20, it is 30.
Why 76, right? When did you join HDFC?
Yeah, 76. So
94 was your bank.
94 and 77, 78 was HDFC.
Right. So I'm just saying that if you look at it, it was less than 20 years when you already started to imagine a bank and then the entire ecosystem umbrella of...
So it was a strange reason how we got into a bank. I noticed in the Times of India one small ad one morning. RBI invites application for setting up new universal banks. I got excited at that because I'd spent some time in National Grindlays, Chase, so I knew a little bit of banking. I got excited at that. I cut it out. And I went to our colleagues and we said we should start a bank. So we called a board meeting and immediately our proposal was rejected. Our proposal was rejected because our capital was 50 crores at that time and our net worth was 100 crores. 50 crores net worth, 50 crores reserves, 50 crores share capital. And the minimum requirement for a bank was 100 crores. So some of our senior board members felt that it's too risky. What do you guys know about banking? You are exposing that, and you are exposing our company into that. We are doing very well. Why do you want to venture out? And we had to really prepare a paper, position paper, and go back to the board. And finally, they agreed that we can only put 25%, not 50%. That was the history that why we only had 25% of our bank. Because our board did not allow us to put more.
No, but then, you know, one of the things that is really remarkable is how do you vision from a small place to create an entire, an entire umbrella around an asset management company, a general insurance company, a life insurance company, a bank, a housing finance.
Student housing.
Yeah, student. So how did you, what kept you going? I mean...
Well, it was many, many years. It was not 46 years I've spent there.
Yeah, but
So,
this was all happening in the first 20.
no, not all of it, but, and then you had to build on that. See, ultimately, we looked at an individual family. What does a family need? We concentrated on family's requirement, individual's requirement. Once he got a house, he needed a bank account, he needed his savings, he needed asset management, some long-term savings for life insurance. And lastly, we said that when his kids grow up, he wants to send them overseas for studies or even to Indian colleges. Expensive fees were expensive. So the last company we started was Credila, which gave student loans. And it's a massive success. I can't tell you, RBI didn't allow us to continue. And in our merger proposal, they say either you merge it or you sell it. So unfortunately, we had to sell it. And I must say that in July, when we sold it under a process of bidding, we got 4,000 crores. The asset book was 15,000. Permissions have still not come. Asset book has gone to 25,000. So the buyer has got such a tremendous advantage that he's underpaid us.
Okay.
But we have to get CCI approval, takes a long time. And then the foreigners who come in, the private equity that comes in, Reserve Bank scrutinizes that where is the money coming from, and it's still not cleared.
So can you tell me, did you in your wildest dreams believe that you would create the fourth highest market cap entity in the world?
Never, never. It was never thought that way. We never aspired. It just happened.
Why didn't you think that way? I mean, you should have, shouldn't you?
I know, but we have no overseas operations. We have no overseas operations. It's all local, all Indian.
But it's...
I have seen Indian banks go overseas. Even as a student in London, I'd seen Indian banks going overseas. My family comes from a banking side. Indian banks never made money in the US or in Europe or London. And so we were very clear we didn't want to expand overseas. We only had booking offices or rep offices where we get business in India.
And why is it that when you were creating this kind of a startup, which was so iconic, how is it that every time the government had a problem, whether it was power, whether in any area that you could name, whether it was around cricket, whether it was around the securities market, why was Deepak Parekh's name always brought into a committee? Whether it was Satyam, whether... I don't even know which ones you have not done.
Because I'm so weak, I can't say no if anyone asks me. Like you asked me to join the BCG advisory board. I had no idea of consultancy, but I had to say yes because I can't say no.
But actually, I have to put on record that Deepak has been my mentor now for 25 years. And he is as responsible for where we have reached as I am. And so you are responsible for all the good and the bad, okay? Now, I'm going to actually open it to the audience, Deepak, to see if they want to ask any questions of you. Could you just, but please make the questions short so that the Deepak could answer them. Anyone? Yes, please. Can you give a mic?
Hello, sir. I'm a fintech entrepreneur trying to do consumer lending. My question for you is that you guys brought in the first wave of consumer lending in India. Over the last 20, 30 years, we have seen a lot of salaried people, former employed people get access to housing loans, which is right now a big chunk of the sector. But what about the tier 2, tier 3 cities where unorganized income is very large? How does HDFC plan to take on that market, and what are the risks that you are facing right now on solving it, specifically with things like an account aggregator and alternate data, digital lending rising, so on? Thanks.
So there are different ways HDFC Bank would look at it and different ways HDFC Limited, ex-HDFC Limited would look at it. See, we only did housing and the bank did everything but housing. So in the housing side, if you have a lot of unrecognized income, we would not be able to give you the kind of loan you wanted, because 90% of our borrowers were salaried class. Because individual businessmen and self-employed people, be it doctors or be it businessmen or lawyers, they never showed their right income. And the loan was linked to the income. We had a good record of recoveries because we never gave a loan on the asset value. We gave a loan on the cash firm, on the cash basis of the individual. What is his cash earnings? What is his take-home pay? How much he'll be able to pay out of it. So for self-employed, later on we had the CIBIL to go. We used to go for CIBIL for everything. But we only looked at last 3 years' balance sheets, income tax returns. And on that basis, we gave a loan. So many doctors were unsatisfied with the quantum of loan we gave them because we all knew they had other income. Secondly, in the early days, there was a lot of cash payment in housing. So we could never give more than the agreement value. If there was 70-30, we could never give more than that 30% cash component we could never give, because the agreement value is only 70%. So for us, that was the value. So we could give 80-90% of 70%. So the individual's equity was much higher in the building, in the flat he purchased, and so the chance of defaulting was less. But on your question, it's tough luck. If you make a lot of money and don't pay rightful taxes, you won't get the loan. Now in the bank, it is different because they have a large unsecured portfolio. So they would take a risk, they would go and visit the place, they would go and see the number of clients, businesses he does, and take a call. It's different for housing, it's different for unsecured loans. Ours were secured loans.
Deepak, I'm going to ask you a question that, just 1 minute, I'm going to ask you a question, then I'll come to you. You were also the M&A king of India. The bank bought 2 banks, the mutual fund bought another mutual fund, the insurance company bought. This was a very, normally when you think of an M&A person, they are aggressive, they are out there. How did you do so much with your style?
Well, basically, I'm a merchant banker, investment banker. I started my life as an investment banker. And yes, we did buy Times Bank, we did buy Centurion Bank, we bought a couple of asset management companies, life companies. And see, you have to go you have to grow the opportunities. India is so much. You know, if you look at the penetration level, you all are financial sector people. Look at the financial penetration today, it's terribly low in India. Mortgage to GDP is 12% in India. In China, it is 26%. In Thailand, it is 20%. So it's only one way it has to go. Consumer credit as a percentage of GDP is 11%. It's 30-40% in other Asian countries. People borrow money and pay from the income they make. So that trend is catching on. But the point is whether you take assets under management as a percentage of GDP, life and non-life is 1 and 2%, which is, we've not even scratched the surface yet. So in financial services, I still feel the sky is the limit because the penetration levels are so low. Now on the merger side, you have to grow faster You can grow organically or inorganically. You have to have both minds open. And I enjoyed doing some of these mergers.
Yes, sir.
So, hi. I'm from Rishikesh from JP Morgan.
Just
You're from JP Morgan.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you one question. In your entire illustrious career, what was the most difficult situation you have faced and how did you overcome it?
Well, the most difficult decision I had to take was when I was 65 years old. I was executive chairman, and I thought that my board wanted me to continue. I thought if I continue, it would come in the way of the next lot of people. So I decided, after a lot of mind and much against my family's wishes, that it's not fair of me to continue. And I retired in my 65th year became non-executive chairman of HDFC. So for the last 13 years, I've not been paid any salaries. And as a non-executive chairman, you are not entitled to any stock options also. So my colleagues who are working with me for 20, 30 years, they got much more options than I did. It was a difficult decision, but it was a fair decision, because you had to let the others come up in life. And I took a call and I don't regret it at all. I was available to them, I'm still there, and I think it was necessary rather than continuous. And there was no RBI directive that 75, 70, there was no regulatory reason, there was no pressure from board. In fact, there was pressure for me to continue, but I thought, no, 65, you have to step down and become non-executive.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon, sir, and congratulations on a wonderful estate career. Now, the session is about how to create a wonderful wealth. So if we are starting right today, right from scratch, what will be your advice in creating a bank for India's need for coming 1 or 2 decades?
Starting a bank.
what would, if you were to start right now, this was actually the question I was going to ask him at the end. But now that you have asked him, the question now is, given that you are only 78 years young, what is your new initiative going to be and when are you starting it? And are you hiring people for that?
I'm hiring no one, and I'm hiring no one, and I'll probably spend some time on our foundation, because you learn, you earn, and you have to return. So you have to do that.
Sir, just wanted to add a context to it.
I think it's a very tall order for someone to start a bank at this stage. A digital bank maybe, but not a brick and mortar type of bank, because competition is so severe that it may be easier if you have some PE support or some sovereign wealth funds and you have some money, buy an existing bank and grow it. There's far greater opportunity in that than starting a bank scratch. And a digital bank, they may be, but every bank, every brick and mortar bank is also a digital bank.
Yeah.
Everyone is going towards that.
Done, sir.
So make some money in fintech and buy a small bank.
Done, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good morning. Mr. Deepak, mine is very fairly simple question. I'm here. To your left. Would you join politics?
Would you join politics?
No, never. I don't have that thick skin. You require thick skin to be a politician.
The intention was India would need people like you beyond financial services. A lot of more industries were looking forward to have you.
India needs people like you outside of financial services also. So how do you pay your responsibility to India?
If your expertise is one area, you can't become a farmer if your expertise is in financial services. And it's too late in age to learn something different. Advisory roles is possible, but joining politics, I've never thought of it. But advisory role, Janmay said, I did get into various committees appointed by government in the past when I was younger.
Hello. May I?
Yeah.
This side.
Yes.
Mr. Janmejaya, right at the beginning, mentioned about that, where is it that you're not there? I mean, that's absolutely perfectly said. I think there's no banker in the country today that does not want to emulate you. So you have been a kind of an influencer, although this word influencer has come very recently, but you have been an influencer for very long. So not only for the bankers, but maybe for the authorities and government possibly and the regulators, you are an influencer for them as well. Are there any one or two agendas that were there in your mind as a visionary, not only for your bank, but financial sector as a whole, that you think that agenda is still not fulfilled and you regret possibly have not been able to influence the government or the regulator? Thank you.
No, there are quite a few. There are quite a few areas which need to be opened up or need to be tackled. A simple one is recovery of debt. Recovery of debt is still a very painful process. Even after you have the NCLT and after you have the SARFACI and all, it's not easy. It's not about a housing loan, it's about any loan. It's not only to individuals, it's even to the corporate sector. The legal system is not geared up. The way the businesses have grown in India, the legal system or the efficacy of the legal system is still not right, because overseas decisions by courts are much quicker, much faster, and they're implementable. India, it's not happening yet. So we have to improve our legal system. The decisions have to come from the insolvency, NCLT and all much quicker. Now they are short-staffed, they don't have enough resources, they don't have enough people. So that is one. The other major thing is, right from 40 years I've been seeing, we used to take post-dated checks. 40 years ago, if a post-dated check bounced, it's a criminal offense. But I have not seen any. I've had hundreds of checks bounced in our lives, but I've not seen any individual being criminally prosecuted because his check is bounced. Although in law it's there that if a check bounces, it's a criminal offense. So there are a lot of these legal intricacies which needs to be sorted out. Even the Insurance Regulation Act talks about investment pattern of life insurance companies. First 25% must go to central government securities. The next 25% must go to central or state government, then to infrastructure. There again, that ratio hasn't changed for years. As India grows, we need more equity investment. Insurance companies must be allowed to take more equity, but there is a limit of how much they can take in equity, unless, of course, it's a unit-linked scheme. So there are various things like that which we need to amend, change, improve efficiency to make the financial sector work more smoothly.
Deepak, I have a question for you. One of the things I have noticed and always admired is that you have a very agile mind which always wants to keep learning. Even if I have a conversation and then you will say, what did you say? Send me a note on that. You at all points are wanting to learn. How did you develop this habit?
I think it's probably you're born with it. I can't say I don't read a lot, but I listen a lot.
And you meet a lot.
And I meet a lot of people.
And now, as we come to the end of this session, there are, whatever, 500, 600. Yeah, you can ask your question quickly, but brief.
Namaste, Deepak sir. In Credilla's case, actually, RBI has given options like whether you merge or you'll sell. Why didn't you merge it?
We couldn't follow what you said.
In Credilla's case, RBI has given you two options, either you sell or merge it. Why didn't you merge it in the bank, sir?
Why didn't you merge Credila?
RBI, not ADIA, RBI had asked us either you sell or you merge it with the bank.
Why didn't you merge
The
it?
reason we didn't merge Credila was the process of merger is the same that we went through in HDFC and HDFC merger. Now, the total assets at that time, there was 15,000 crores. And the merged assets are how many lakh crores? We had 25 lakh crores. So to merge a 15,000 crore with a 25 lakh crore, it would take the same 1 year with multiplicity of approvals, and it was not worth the effort. It is better that the bank starts giving education loans directly and make some money out of our investment.
Okay, Deepak, the last question for you is, what advice do you have for the 1,000 people in this room?
There's nothing like working honestly and with integrity. It pays in the long run.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and an honor to do this with you.
Thank you very much indeed, sir. Can we have a huge round of applause one more time for the towering presence of none other than Shri Deepak Parekh. What a